Hi, this is Deepak. How are you? So, today I thought I would pose some questions that have been posed to me and also suggest some answers. And these have been gathered by my friends during my talks. And all these questions are about the ego. So, here we go. Why do we have an ego? Do we need it? Can we kill it? Should we kill it? What should we do with it? What is a healthy ego? Is self esteem and self respect the same as ego? Can the ego become altruistic, compassionate, and spiritual? What is the ego's role in enlightenment? So, let me attempt to answer these questions to the best of my capacity. Ego is our personal self. So, yes, it gives us personal identity. And without any ego at all, you wouldn't be in a physical body. Your ego, in a sense, incarnates in your physical body. The ego is our self image as opposed to ourself. Our self image is built up by identifying with the objects of our experiences. And this is a phenomenon that is known in ancient Indian wisdom traditions as object referral. So we identify with objects, situations, circumstances, people, things, and then we take all those identifications and we squeeze them into the volume of a body in the span of a lifetime, and we say, that's me. So, in a sense, it's our limited identity, it's our self image, it's also our separate self. And being the separate self, it is also a little guarded, a little fearful. It lacks self esteem, actually. It is dependent on the good and bad opinion of others. It feels superior sometimes, it feels inferior sometimes. That's the ego. And it's our personality as well. Now, being guarded and fearful, it's also very careful. Therefore, it's not really joyous and doesn't have much of a sense of humor. But beyond the ego is the real self, and the real self has two components: jiva and atman. Jiva is the software of our soul incarnating as karma, memory, and desire. And beyond that is Atman, which is one with Brahman, which is the universal consciousness. Being the real self, it is spontaneous and joyful and joyously unpredictable. It's creative, it's flowing, it is loving, it's compassionate, and it constantly take leaps. It constantly takes leaps of creativity. So the ego is covering it up. What's a healthy ego? A healthy ego is one that doesn't dominate the self, where in fact the self dominates the self image. That's true self esteem. Connecting with that part of ourself, we are independent of the good and bad opinion of others. We feel beneath no one, but also superior to no one. And there is a joyful, effortless spontaneity and evolution into higher states of consciousness. This self, of course, has several components: personal, transpersonal, universal being, the immeasurable potential of all that was, all that is, and all that could be. How do we kill the ego? Well, first of all, you don't try to kill the ego, because killing the ego is the ultimate melodrama of the ego. When you say, I want to kill the ego, it's your ego self that is saying, I want to kill the ego. So you can't do it. And especially you can't do it by being serious about doing it. So what do? Well, from my own experience and from the teachings of Krishnamurti, I've learned that the best way to handle the ego is to observe it, because the ego is the constricted self. Every time you're being defensive or guarded or angry or upset or fearful or too serious, you will feel the constricted self. You will actually feel it as a constricted feeling in your body, because the ego is your local self. Your real self is non-local, beyond space-time, therefore unbounded, infinite, and so comfortable and joyous. Anytime you feel constricted, or anytime you feel those emotions of being fearful or guarded or defensive, then feel your body and feel the sensation that's accompanying the constricted ego dominance at that moment, and keep feeling it till the sensation of discomfort goes away. So don't evaluate it, don't judge it, don't define it, don't try to describe it, don't even try to comprehend it. Observe it and observe the sensation accompanying it. When you observe the sensation, you decouple the sensation from the thought that is occurring, because that's why we call our feelings because they are actual sensations in our body. By putting attention on the sensation, you take it away from the thought, and if you continue to persist in it, the sensation will go away. Your sense of comfort or discomfort in your own physical body is your gauge. The more uncomfortable you are, the more constricted you are, the more local you are, the more the ego is dominating. The more defenseless you are, the more comfortable you are, and the absence of uncomfortable sensations, the experience of bliss in the body, is a sign that you're connecting with your deeper self. Another thing you can do is that you can always honestly question your motivations for doing this. Right now is my motivation for giving this little piece of advice. What is it? Am I trying to get your attention? Am I trying to make myself more popular? Or am I coming from a place where I really want to share my ideas with you because I feel they could be helpful to both of us, and your feedback is also helpful to me. So where am I coming from? You can't tell. Only I can tell. So when I honestly question my motivation for everything I'm doing, and I'm honest with myself why I'm doing it, and if I'm doing it for the right reasons, or am I doing it just to boost my ego, just that awareness, in fact, will help me overcome the dominance of my ego. Those are the two tools that I found very useful: witnessing awareness, witnessing sensations, and being very honest to one's own self about one's motivations. Does the ego lead us to enlightenment? Does overcoming the ego lead us to enlightenment? I think the more we shift our internal reference point from the ego self to the real self, the more we will experience higher states of consciousness. And those, of course, we still have to discuss. Thanks for listening, and very grateful to be able to share all this with you.